Hey everybody, Coach Keith Kepner here. I'm going to talk about 3 mental models for boxing success. It is oftentimes not just the person that's stronger, faster, more conditioned, or even has better boxing skills that beats you, but it's the person that has a better mental philosophy, or is stronger mentally, or is a champion in their own mind, truly, that is able to overcome. Because oftentimes we know in fights, it's not always the quicker or faster man. Sometimes it's just the man that thinks he can and has the training and the preparation to back that up. Obviously, if you don't train and do everything else physically you need to do, it's not going to matter. But what separates number 1 from perhaps number 5 or number 10 or even number 20 is not their conditioning level, their speed, their power, but it's something else. That something else can be called spirit, but it also could be called your mind, your mentality. So I'm going to give you 3 mental models for boxing success. What inspired me to do this video, I've had some people ask about it. It's been asked about in the live chats. But also, I had a fighter come to me this week. A fighter who is, as an amateur getting started, very successful. Very successful. One of the most promising people. And I gave him these 3 concepts, wrote it down on a piece of paper, and he asked, hey, can I take this piece of paper? So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought, well, it might be of value to give to this community as well, which theoretically is the rest of the world. Now, the first thing to think about is, do you want a holiday or do you want a victory? Right? Which one do you want more? Do you want a vacation on the beach or do you want to feel what victory feels like? I want to feel the latter, what victory feels like. Vacationing on the beach is boring with enough time. Victory is fulfilling. Now, before we go on to talk about this concept, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Obviously, like the video, comment, consider joining the channel. Become level 2. I'll review your fight footage, sparring footage, shadow boxing footage, training footage, and give you feedback just like this on video. And then also drop a super thanks if you feel like this information really benefited you. It's like the little heart thing down below. And buy me a cup of coffee with that. All right, so the holiday versus the victory. It's like a lot of people think they want in life to just vacation for the rest of their life. But like I said, that's boring. That's unfulfilling. Victory is fulfilling. All right, so you have the course of time, right? Represented by these lines. The time of you training. Now, this is your line of progress. This first part of the line is called the holiday phase. And a lot of people, they stay perpetually in this phase with everything they do. A new job, a new sport, a new exercise routine, a new gym, a new relationship. They will stay in the holiday phase. What is this holiday phase? Well, you see the amount of progress you get to feel in that holidays phase, whether it's the first few months or even just the first few years. If you are starting to learn, let's say, boxing, your level of improvement is dramatic, just like this. You go from barely knowing what a punch is or what your left and right hand is to understanding all of that and more. You start to learn things about yourself. There is so much amazing stuff that, as you know, if you started boxing or anything, that you gain in that first phase. But what happens is all of that fun and excitement that we get from that holiday phase, we'll expect for it to keep coming. And when it doesn't come, we'll jump off. So many stop right here at the end of the holiday phase. And they'll say, well, this isn't for me, right? I'm not progressing like I was. Something must be wrong. They might go down rabbit holes of different convoluted ways to progress, or they might just jump ship altogether and say this doesn't work, or this isn't for me, right? And they'll do something else. And inevitably, they'll hit the holiday phase again, or the end of it. They'll jump to something else. I've seen this with team members, with fighters, and so many people. Now, if we expand out, so you have that little block of time where the holiday phase ends and people stop. But if you expand that over a larger horizon, you'll see that your potential is all the way up here if you stuck with it, if you didn't jump ship prematurely and said this isn't for me, or felt like something was wrong because you weren't progressing the way you were before. If you look at that line of what is your absolute potential, which you will never know completely, if you look at that line and you were to measure it compared to the end of the holiday phase, it's an interesting thing to think about. If you look here, the end of the holiday phase, according to just this, random putting a fake ruler on it, is a little bit over an inch, right? Versus the end of your absolute potential is almost 4 times what your end of your holiday phase is. So think about it. If you're boxing right now and you've been 6 months into it, or a year into it, or 2 years into it, your potential is possibly 4 times or more beyond that. And that's a conservative estimate, because I've seen, as perhaps you've experienced or seen other people, progress dramatically, more than 4x over their time with any endeavor. But people will stop here and they won't get to experience that peak, which is the peak of victory. They'll experience the little victories of learning things in that holiday phase, but they'll never get to where they truly want to be. It's like the grass is greener syndrome, right? You think that the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, and you jump over and you realize it's not. Most of the time it's not. But unfortunately, unlike a yard, it's not as simple as just jumping over the fence and looking. You get deep into another endeavor and realize, damn, this is just as hard as the previous one. So what do you want to do? A holiday or have victory? Let's not be that so many that stop too soon. And let's achieve, close to, or actualize our potential. Like my dad used to say, potential is the rule. Think about that. Potential is the rule. A lot of times people say things like this to us growing up. You have so much potential. Or he had so much potential. She had so much potential. That's a given. We all have tremendous potential. Right? That's the rule. The exception is actualized potential. And that's when you hit this peak of victory. Now let's talk about peaks and valleys. All right? So again, here we have the line that demonstrates time, which time is something that we all have. Now, the rich man, the poor man, we all have time. Maybe different ways that you utilize that time, different ways that you feel like you're forced to utilize it. But remember, everything we do, I was having this conversation with someone in the gym the other day, is a choice. You don't have to do anything. Now, granted, there might be consequences. There might be consequences upon you that are worse than other people if you don't do something or do something. But we don't have to do anything. We choose. And when we say, I have to do this, I need to do this, we're speaking weakly to our capabilities and our own personal autonomy. Say, I choose. I choose to go to work. I choose to do this task, which is not fun, because that's taking ownership. Now, peaks and valleys. This could be you too. You're working at something. You're boxing. Or anything in life. This is what the pathway to success often looks like. It's not a straight line that goes up, right? It's not like a handicap ramp. It can be like this. You might be here right now in what seems or apparently is a valley. Now, let's measure though, because what happens is as we go along this journey, you'll see if you stay on the path, you get to the top. We'll start off our first little while, first few months, first few years, and we hit a peak of, let's say, it's like 1.5 for sake of measurement. Now, what happens is that causes people to quit, might cause you to be thinking about quitting right now or in the future, is you'll have that valley that you're in right now. And if you look at it, the change in position is 5. So you have a 1.5 change in position of going from 0 to that first level in the first interim of time to a -5 drop. So what happens is oftentimes in our mind, we'll experience this -5 drop and we'll apply that like we're still in that early stage where it's that 1.5 improvement. So we think we are literally beyond zero. We're not. And if you compare that drop there, that's the -5 drop, with the previous valley drop that happened, you're still higher. You're still at a higher level, right? So you lost a fight, you got beat up, you got knocked out, whatever. Or you're just questioning yourself, like this fighter was. You're still at a higher level than your previous valley. Sure, you're maybe a tad bit lower, maybe just simply because of mentality, than your peak before the fall, or the peak before the fall, if that makes sense, right where that guy is standing. But what's coming next? Next is here, the new peak. But again, if you stop here, you will stop short of hitting that next peak. So remember that. It's a very important thing to remember, because we'll experience that fall that you see, that 5, that change that is, it's over 2 times a change that you experience when you're first improving. And we'll say, damn, I have completely failed. But we don't realize that it actually looks like this, where that valley is above the previous valley, and it is nowhere near this place of 0, and that you suck and you should stop. Now, the last mental model. 3 feet from victory. And this is where it applies to this previous item with the peaks and valleys, and to the holidays versus victory, right? We'll end up 3 feet from victory. Before we talk about it in depth, make sure you like. If you like this, make sure you subscribe if you aren't already. Odds are, according to the data, if you watch this content, Kevner Boxing channel, you probably aren't subscribed, so make sure you do. Consider joining, becoming level 2. I'll watch your videos, sparring, and give you feedback just like this on video. And the last one is drop a super thanks. If any of this is connecting with you, buy me a cup of coffee, because that's what I use it for. I've had people drop $10 super thanks, or as little as $2. Now, 3 feet from victory. You have your victory right here, signified by a belt. Here's you. And this is a mountain, right? So you start digging, which is you working at your progress, or working at progressing with boxing. You're digging, continually digging, and oftentimes we'll be right there. We'll be right there. Maybe you have the peak in the valley there. Maybe that's the end of the holiday phase. And so many stop right there. They don't go any further. But look how close they are. They've done most of the work. It's like if you're bashing at a wall trying to knock it down. You've done most of the work. And if you just did a couple more hits, it would fall over, or you'd break through. But so many stop there and turn around and go back, all the way back, to go to another mountain, to pursue another victory somewhere else. They might do all this work again, and perhaps, because they've done it before, stop 3 feet from victory. Keep these 3 concepts close to you, close in your mind, as you're working at anything. Boxing, relationships, business, anything you're doing. Keep them close to you and try to remember them. Like I said, the fighter I talked to, or told this to this week, and drew these on a piece of paper, he said, hey, can I keep the piece of paper? Absolutely. Ripped it out, kept it, put it in his gym bag. So keep these close to you, and I know that it'll make a difference when you hit one of these crunch times where everything is on the line and where victory is decided. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, make sure you consider joining, and also drop a super thanks. Thanks for watching.